Welcome to Hannah's Heart.
So Hannah, she's just one of the women who did struggle with infertility in the Bible.
No matter who we are, we can be inspired by the fact that Hannah took her pain to God and God heard her and was with her.
So when she was praying at the temple, she had been weeping and not eating, and her lips were moving, but her eyes were closed, and the priest was like, "Hey, why are you drunk at the temple?"
It can become an obsession when you want
wanting
a child so deeply.
and desiring that baby and to be a mama. Every holiday, every Mother's Day.
This is not a show that's going to promise you a certain outcome, but this is a show that says, however God answers your cry, we know that He's enough.
Hey, I'm Ann.
And I'm Kendra, and you're listening to Hannah's Heart on American Family Radio. Hey, welcome if you're new to the Hannah's Heart family. We are a show that started off for couples struggling with infertility or miscarriage because that was our story. We were so alone and needed life-giving help and just support. And this show has expanded from that to reach people that are walking through fertility treatments, or maybe you're considering fostering or adopting, or maybe you're struggling with child loss at any age, which is going to be part of our topic that we talk about today.
That's right. So today we have on a special guest over the phone. She's a calling guest from Iowa who is calling in to discuss a ministry that she founded called Walk With You. And we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of what that ministry is, but it is definitely a ministry that started out in the need to help with the need of child loss.
And just a quick shout out to some of our listeners who are specifically struggling with infertility. We've had a couple that have said, I just need a heads up when it's about a child loss because it's a little too soon and too painful. So today's episode, we are going to focus on that. And we get it. If you need a pause and come back next week, we'll get you when we get you.
Yeah, that's
We love you and we're praying for you.
That's very true. Very, very true. So the girl that we have on today, one of our new friends of Hannah's Heart, her name is Kylie Collins. Kylie, are you there?
I'm here, yes.
That is like the coolest name. I feel like you belong in like a superhero. Like you're the
Kylie
girlfriend to a
Collins.
superhero. Kylie Collins, saved from...
Oh, I love that.
I can tell where your mind's been
Right,
with
right.
what
I
type
have
of
children
work you're
and
having
yes.
to do. That's too funny. I do like the name though. It sounds very nice together.
Yes.
Kylie Collins. But you're on today, Kylie. Yeah, we're laughing and giggling, and I am thankful that we can do that.
Yeah.
But your job can be so heavy, I would assume.
Yes, yeah. And we honestly talk a lot about the coexistence of grief and joy in what we do at Walk With You. And Walk With You is not explicitly a faith-based organization, but I myself am a Christian, and many of our volunteers and team members are also Christians. It's just incredible how the coexistence of grief and joy really originated with Christianity, with Scripture, with the Lord. But that concept really has infiltrated the entire grief space in general, whether or not people identify as Christians. But we just had one of our big events that we have every year last weekend. And so the beginning of April, I'm not sure exactly when this is airing, but we talk a lot about the coexistence of grief and joy and how grief never ends. And when people experience joy in their life after such a profound loss, with the loss of a child, there still will always be grief when there's moments of joy.
Wow.
And so it's okay to laugh and cry in the same conversation. And, it can be difficult for people maybe that aren't grieving or that haven't grieved the death of somebody in maybe a tragic way before to understand that concept. So we just encourage that education piece of grieving and laughing. It's all together. We are complex. Praise the Lord that He has created us this way to be able to hold multiple emotions at the same time.
It just, as you're talking, it reminds me of Lazarus in Scripture when, when he passed away and Jesus came, and the Scripture just says Jesus wept, and like the ability to come alongside other people. And Jesus even knew He was going to raise him from the dead, and He still took a moment to experience really true, really deep human emotion. Yeah. And I'm sure you get to do that with people all the time.
I was going to say,
we can image Christ in that, we can image Christ in in the depths of emotion, and he's sovereign God, like you said. He knew what was going to happen, and he still wept.
Mm.
So if he wept, like how much more do we need to weep throughout life? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know, like, after our baby boy, when he passed away in 2023, happiness seemed like a far away emotion, and almost as a mama, I felt guilty to think that I would ever feel happy again, because it's like,
Yeah.
why, how would I feel happy after I just buried my son, you know? Um, so, yeah, it's still walking through that kind of thing, because it is still an odd feeling. And I feel like the enemy can definitely remind you of that sometimes when there is a time to weep, but there's also a time to laugh, and there's a time to dance, and there's a time to rejoice. But yeah, to even think that you're worthy of doing that after child loss is a odd concept, at least for me. And I feel like um, I've heard from other people that have felt, the same way. It's just kind of odd to think that you would feel happiness again, but somehow you do, and I do believe it's because of the hope in Jesus and the hope in heaven.
Now, Kylie, you are
Yeah.
talking about this in such a near and dear way, as if you've lost a child. But Ann tells me that you started this ministry just to minister to others. That's not your personal story. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. I am a nurse by degree and I graduated in 2015. So I've been a nurse for about 10 years now. And I started this because of my experience in the ICU with babies and kids
Oh, wow.
and walking with families. I mean, when a family's in the ICU, they are surrounded by medical professionals, for better or for worse. But
Mm-hmm.
uh, hopefully in a way that they are feeling supported and not isolated and not alone. And it was such a drastic, harsh separation when they would go home if their child died. And we would walk these families to the elevator after we spent time with them and their babies, after their babies died, and helped prepare them for the funeral home to pick them up. And then you walk them to the elevator and say goodbye. And because of patient confidentiality, there's not a lot that anybody in the healthcare field officially can do to support families once they leave the hospital. And so this this organization was really inspired by all of those families that have shared bravely their regrets, their things they wish they would have known, navigating those initial moments and days and weeks, and how difficult it was to find support because grief is so exhausting, and how their support systems, even if they had a robust support system, people are at a loss for what to do and what to say when somebody loses a child. Like, truly, it's just so backwards from how life should be, and no one knows how to enter those spaces. And so, as these families shared with me, and as some dear friends of ours experienced the death of their 3-year-old to a drowning accident, those experiences together really created Walk With You. And, we have a lot of team members that are bereaved parents, because I think I need to always be informed and kept in check by the people who are truly navigating this in the day-to-day. But it has really been special to be able to enter these spaces without my own triggers or trauma, and to be able to just walk with these families.
Wow.
Yeah, it's honestly like one of the greatest honors of my life to be here in these spaces and truly feel like the Lord has made me for this work.
That's so special. Hey, if you guys are just listening, this is Kylie Collins. She is the creator of the ministry Walk With You.
That's right. That's right. So Kylie, will you walk us through what all you offer? There's like a list of things
How do
on
you
your
even begin
website. Yeah.
to help people?
There's so many different things. I loved that you called something listening visits. Do you mind telling us about that?
Absolutely, yes. So Walk With You operates in 3 different phases. And so those 3 phases are anticipatory loss, new loss, and enduring loss. So they're sort of self-explanatory, but I'll get into them a little bit. So not every family knows before their child dies. So the anticipatory phase is not, necessarily applicable for everybody. But for those families that do find themselves receiving devastating news that their child will die, whether it's, you know, the next day or whether it's, you know, 4 months from now when they go into the hospital to deliver their baby with a life-limiting diagnosis or navigating any sort of terminal diagnosis in a child already born, we offer listening visits for families. And those are where we just spend some time getting to know them, talking with them, hearing about their child, hearing about their family, all the different family members that make up their family, their belief system, what's important to them, all of these sorts of things. And in those visits, we really spend some time helping to prepare them for these end-of-life moments that are upcoming. And so we do some, sometimes we do some navigating of the funeral home process before a child dies, depending on how much time they have. But the majority of it is just making sure that they are aware of all the different keepsakes and memory-making options that are available to them and helping supply or provide some of those ideas. And then also in the anticipatory phase, we have photography and videography services that we offer to families all over the country too. So we have lists of photographers everywhere, but if a family comes to us in a city and state that we don't have anyone we know of, we work on finding someone local to them.
Wow.
Yeah,
Man.
so that's the anticipatory phase. And then in the new loss phase, that's kind of the moment of a child dying. That was when that starts. And so that's helping them identify a funeral home. That's helping them make that initial phone call to the funeral home, going with them to their first appointment or preparing them from afar. And then once they're there and they kind of do some of those initial decisions with the funeral home, we help them plan a service for their child if that's something that they're wanting. And again, capturing photography and videography in that stage as well. And after the funeral home stage, we enter enduring loss, which is then, as the term kind of explains, we are with them as they are kind of entering this phase of enduring their grief and the death of their child for the rest of their lives. And so we help compile a tailored list of resources for them. If you think about the loss of a child due to a full-term stillbirth or the loss of a child due to a cancer diagnosis in a 5-year-old child, or maybe it's a tragic car accident in a teenager, all of these different types of child losses they're so unique and nuanced, and there's different resources available to all of these that speak into all of these different kinds and types of losses. And so we help families get in touch with the ones that are very specific for them and for their journey. And we kind of take that burden of them having to go out and find it themselves. And so, whether that's a support group or a grief counselor that accepts their health insurance, or maybe it's a support group that meets and in the language that the family speaks, all of these sorts of things, if you think about. And so we compile a list of resources, help them get plugged in. We do support system equipping, which is where we meet with a parent support system and make sure that they are equipped and empowered to come alongside their loved ones and support them with tangible ways, a very specific care plan, and also do's and don'ts, things that are not helpful to say or do, and then also the things that are helpful to say and do.
I imagine there's a long list of those.
You're laughing. Yes. It's truly, amazing is the wrong word, but some of the phrases that people will share with us, and at first glance, you're kind of flabbergasted that somebody would say that, but these all come from a place of well-intended love. It's just misdirected, right? And so we really help the support systems confidently step into walking with their loved ones. And then the last thing we do is bereaved parent mentorship. And so that's where we connect lost moms and lost dads one-on-one with somebody who's a few years at minimum out from the loss of their child, just to kind of serve as a guide. But kind of in all of those things, all of our services are super nuanced. And so we help families design headstones, and
Mm.
we help families design customized stickers to hand out in honor of their child, or
That's sweet.
all of these different things that we do with families to really, you know,
Mm.
in a way, we're event planners and care coordinators, and we really enjoy helping families invite others into remembering their child's legacy in really unique ways. And again, when you're grieving, when your child died yesterday, you can't think of these things. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're in too much of a fog. And so that's kind of how we step in and really give a few really specific, unique examples.
Mm.
So that was a really long ramble.
Oh, you
No.
covered so much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's what we do.
I,
Yeah.
I love that your ministry doesn't just stop at, the week after a loss has happened, that you continue with that enduring care. We had a butterfly release back in October for anyone in our area who had lost an infant or a pregnancy loss. And we had someone show up who was much older than most. And she just said, I just never had the space or time to be able to emotionally
Mm-hmm.
process this loss, and I still need this.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah.
imagine that you are connecting with people um, in the long-term care, how crucial, because everybody rushes to the aid for the first month,
Mm-hmm.
when there's been a child loss, but it's that continual care when an individual says, has everyone forgotten? Have they forgotten what I'm walking through?
Yeah. It's so yeah, there are no words, right,
Hmm.
to encompass all of that.
Yeah.
But it's so true. Families come to us at all different phases at all different times, and we actually, one of our biggest goals is to be in touch with families as soon as possible, because that early support really changes the
Hmm.
entire trajectory of a
Hmm.
parent's
That's good.
grieving experience. And if you think about, I'm going to talk about geometry for a second, but I promise it all connects. But if you think about the angle of
Mm-hmm.
on a graph, and if
Mm-hmm.
you just alter that angle 4 degrees
Wow.
at the beginning, and you watch that trajectory play out, it is a drastically different trajectory
Mm.
Wow.
as you go through time.
Yeah.
And so that's the hope and the goal. We
Yeah.
can't, quote unquote, make things better, or we can't give parents the one thing they want, which is their child.
Mm-hmm.
But what we can do is be with them in it and help prevent some potential regrets or things
Mm.
maybe they would have missed out on, um, if they didn't have this early support. And we
Mm.
actually recently had the honor of walking with a family who had their second full term stillbirth.
Mm.
Mm.
And we were not with them a few years ago when they experienced their first
Mm.
stillborn full term child. But when they experienced their second, we were with them from the moment the mom was laboring in the hospital.
Wow.
So, about as early as you can be in touch with somebody, experiencing that type of loss,
Mm.
and even just hearing from them how different it has been
Mm.
from their first experience with pretty limited grief support. They didn't know they could have a service for their child. They didn't know that they could
Wow.
honor
Mm.
her. They didn't know how to do that. And then with us being here the second time and helping coordinate financial aid so they didn't have to go into debt again, and
Mm-hmm.
being with them to help them plan a service for both of their babies and implement
Oh.
really unique ways to honor both of their babies, because it's never too late.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Yeah.
And then just supporting their support system through this as well. And I mean, it's just drastic when, as we stay in touch with these families, how they share how helpful those initial moments were. I mean, there was a family that their son, he had an acute health event, and he ended up with no brain activity,
Mm.
and he was 11, and we offered photography and videography for his honor walk as he went to
Mm.
donate his organs. And initially, his mom and dad were like, that's kind of weird. Like, I don't know that we would want that. But they just shared at our event last weekend. They were the keynote speakers, and they have
Mm.
said that that's the last photo they have as a
Ugh.
family. That's the last photo they have of their son.
Mm.
And they're so glad they have those videos to remember all of the faces that were present
Yeah.
lining the walls of the hospital on the way to
Wow.
the operating room, right? And it's those moments like you can't get those back.
Mm-mm.
And
Mm.
that is the whole heart behind what Walk With You does, and why we do it in the timeline that we do it. Um, it's because you can't have a redo.
Right.
And once some of these moments pass, they pass. And so our goal is that early support. It changes everything, truly,
Wow.
truly.
I was gonna say one thing that definitely some regrets that I have is not having pictures of John Micah's funeral.
Mm.
Mm,
The few pictures that I have are
Mm.
the two or three that you sent me.
Really?
Um, but at the time, you kind of, I didn't, well, for one, I didn't think about we should take pictures, but
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm just speaking to parents. Like, if you, I never had the chance to take pictures with John Micah while he was
Mm-hmm.
alive. And so that is
mm,
literally the only celebration,
Mm.
that we had for him. And so if you're someone listening that might end up walking through this, um, those pictures, because that is his day,
Mm-hmm.
to wish that I had that, to show who did
Mm.
show up, that kind of thing.
Mm.
Pictures,
yeah.
are sweet.
And it, yeah, I don't say any of that to make anyone feel guilty either, or
No,
to,
no.
it's just some of that encouragement and that coaxing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think the people that might be surrounding parents in those planning moments are saying things like, whatever you want, whatever you need,
Mm-hmm.
we'll do whatever you want. We're not going to pressure you, yada yada yada. And their heart is in such a the right place.
Right.
But I think what people that are grieving, what they need is they need direction,
Yes.
Mm.
Oh
and
my
they
goodness,
they
that's
need
so
they
true.
need somebody to share. Like, I know that this feels maybe awkward, or a weird idea. If if you never look at these images ever again, that's okay.
Yeah.
But in the off chance that you might want to look back on these, then you'll have them.
Right. Right.
And
No, that's
it's
Mm.
so
just
good.
some of that. It's just some of that. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that. When we surveyed a lot of parents before we really, created our specific services, that was one of the biggest regrets that people had was,
Wow.
either not any pictures or not enough pictures,
Yeah.
or, maybe their minds kind of blacked out some of those moments. So they don't
Mm-hmm.
even feel like they have those lived memories. They only have memories when they look back at images. And
Mm.
so, yeah, it's so true.
Now I think so. There's just one more thing. We did not take any pictures of our other two children that are alive. And people from our church, it was
Mm.
so sweet. They went and got them matching outfits to wear to the funeral.
Mm.
But we didn't take any
Mm,
pictures of them just because just wasn't thinking about it. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so if anyone, has to walk through that,
Mm.
it is sweet to have, I don't have any pictures of Jane and Mark during that day. And so,
mm,
to think to have that, what they,
Yeah.
looked like while they were, celebrating their baby brother.
yeah.
But
Well, I know so many people can benefit from what you offer. How can they connect with you?
Yes. So we have Facebook and Instagram, which both of those link to our website. So our website is walkwithyounonprofit.org. And at the top of our website, you'll see a little button that says Get
Mm.
Support. And you can click on that, and it takes you to a page that has a very, very short form.
Mm.
It's too hard to fill anything out at length, and we don't want that to deter anyone from reaching out.
Mm.
And so the parent themselves can fill it out, or somebody can fill it out on behalf of the parent if they have the parent's permission.
Mm.
It's just name, phone number, email. You check a box if you are filling it out on behalf of a parent that says you have their permission, and then, as brief or detailed as you want to share. And there's a little box. Some people just share, February 7th. They don't
Mm.
tell us anything about
Wow.
the age. Some people will say, a full paragraph
Mm.
of what they're navigating. And then that kicks to our system, and we reach out within 24 hours.
wow,
Wow.
that's so neat.
Wow. And even if they're not in Iowa, literally all over the
Even,
country.
yes, yes,
Wow.
all over the country. So, a lot of our services can be done virtually, and we do a lot of phone calls
Mm.
and emails, and we're coordinating care, and so we have like a huge team. We only have two paid staff members, but we have a huge team of
Wow.
volunteers. We're around like 70 volunteers right now that,
Wow.
operate in all different phases, whether it's
Wow.
bereaved parents or photographers or on the marketing committee or whatever it may be. But we are always, always, always looking for more volunteers too. And so there's a Get Involved page on our website where you can fill out a form too, and we can, get in touch if you are, either you are a bereaved parent and it's been a few years and you are ready to get involved in honor of your child, or if you are a photographer, or if you are really, or if you're an accountant and you know a lot about finances, or if you have a fundraising background, whatever it might be.
Well,
You
Kylie,
don't have to be a bereaved parent at all.
we are just about out of time, but I cannot imagine a world where Walk With You does not exist. Thank you so much for what you do. And if anyone wants to support your ministry, I'm sure you can connect with them as well. They have some events coming up. And thank you guys so much for listening to Hannah's Heart on American Family Radio.
Thank you for having me.